Hey, good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Ivan here. Jumped on the YouTube this morning for a little bit. It's been a while. I've been quiet because I've been busy. I had a major trade show and event this past weekend with my hair care product brand, so I've stayed away just a touch to get a few important things done. But I've got a subject and I've got a conversation, and I'm excited to share it with everybody here today. As you know, chat is open. Subscribe, comment, share, like, do all the things we do as part of an engaged community here on YouTube, interacting and connecting with everybody. Hope everybody's doing good. So today, the subject is barbershop and hair salon, closing time and door locking. And I'm curious to see what the conversation on this one's going to look like, what the interaction on this one's going to sound like, and where the lines are drawn amongst the camps with regards to attitudes, feelings, thoughts, and ideas about this particular subject. Now, as you would expect, because you've watched and you know me, Brolos the Barber. Hey, good morning, sir. Welcome in. As you would come to expect, because those of you that have watched some videos and know me on this subject, as is the case with many other subjects, I'm going to go hardcore, old school, right wing. Andrew, welcome in this morning. I'm going to go way to the right wing on this with a very, very conservative response, with a very black and white line on this subject. I don't believe there's a lot of opportunity for quibbling or for interpretation on this. I'm going to state the concept up front and we can get into the discussion. The answer is, if the sign says the barber shop is opened until 6 p.m., 6 p.m., we're just going to pick that as an arbitrary time. If the sign says the barber shop is open until 6 p.m., the door must remain unlocked until 6 p.m., and individuals must be allowed to walk in, sit down, and be served as long as they enter before 6 p.m. Now, here's the deal. You can't lock the door early. 6 p.m. is not the time that the barber goes home. 6 p.m. is the time that the door is locked. At 6 p.m., it is fair to no longer allow people into the barbershop. At 6 p.m., it is fair to wave to people and say, see me tomorrow. But as long as an individual, as long as a client, Marcus, good morning, as long as a client is physically able to get in the door by 6, they must be served. Now, what that means is the barber's not going home at 6 o'clock. If there's nobody there, you lock the door, you go home at 6. But if there are 3 people in the waiting room, and if another guy walks in at 5:59, you're staying, you're working, and you're cutting. It's got to be. There is nothing that will drive away a customer faster than a sign that says 6 p.m. and rattling a door handle at 10 minutes to 6 because the door's locked, and a barber going, or barber going, or barber going. That's not going to work, guys. You can't do it. You will tarnish your reputation. You will damage your business. You will hurt your customer base. Now, I know there's an argument out there that I'm going to hear from a lot of folks about, hey, I got my life, I got my family, I got to go home for dinner and all those things. That's fine. Let's talk about adjusting what the sign says. But if a sign says 6, clients have the right to expect to be served if they're in the building by 6. If you expect to be out the door by 6, the sign probably should say 5:30. And the door should probably be locked at 5:30. And you could accept somebody if there's nobody there after that if you wish. But I think if you're going to publicly display your hours as open till 6, a customer should be allowed to walk in up to 6. Now, a dad with 2 kids can walk in at 5 to 6. You've got work to do. You're sticking, you're staying, you're cutting some hair. It's just the way it is. I cannot overemphasize how much I truly believe that haircutting, barbering, cosmetology is a career in which we dedicate ourselves to service to others. It's so important to understand this. And you know, I'm one of the first people to loudly and enthusiastically speak out about taking care of yourself, about your own physical health, about your own mental health, about you can't take care of them if you don't take care of you. I'm one of the first people to very enthusiastically support the barber community and the cosmetology community with those types of attitudes. But this issue of lock the door before 6 because there's 3 people in the waiting room and you're doing the math going, I can't let anybody else in. That's not how you run a business. You know, Walmart doesn't run that way, and the grocery store doesn't run that way. There's no other business I know of that tries to, in some circumstances, think and believe because of the amount of work on the deck, they can lock the door early. It's just not going to work. And this is old school. You know, I believe there's a whole generation of professionals in our business and in our industry who either have never been taught these things or don't necessarily understand these things. Therefore, they don't necessarily support and believe in some of these types of attitudes. I think they want to do business and they want to make money and they want to take care of people. But there's an approach, there's an attitude, there's a position about who's really the ultimate central focus here. And at the end of the day, it's going to be the customers. So this is where we get into some questions. The question is, if I want to be out at 6, how do I manage this? I already addressed that. In that case, you move the closing time to 5:30 so you can lock the door legitimately at 5:30 and nobody else comes in. You got 3 people walk in at 5:30. You're going to stay a little late. You're going to get them cut and you'll probably be out 6-ish. Okay, that'll work. Somebody asked me a question where this whole idea came from recently. It had to do with accepting walk-ins and appointments. And their thing was, if my sign says 6 o'clock and I have a 5:30 appointment, shouldn't I lock the door because I'm going to serve my 5:30 and then go home? And my answer was no, you cannot lock the door earlier than the posted closing time, period. That's a hard line in the sand. So my suggestion was, if you take appointments and walk-ins and you want to balance this end of the day, end of the shift concept, if your closing time is 6, I think your last appointment is 5 to allow you to have the ability to serve whatever walk-ins might walk in during that last 5 o'clock appointment and during that last half hour. From a productivity standpoint, I think you have to look at your shop culture. I think you have to look at your pattern of behavior from your customers. If you typically do not have any walk-ins late in your shift, late in your day in this way, take a 5:30 and every once in a while you run the risk of gambling that there will be a walk-in, you'll stay and you'll cut them. But if your shop culture is heavily walk-in focused and at the same time you or a number of your team members do take appointments, I think you've got to build that buffer in on the back end of the day. 6 o'clock, Mike says, great tips. I'm guilty of this. Yeah, Mike, this is why we talk about this kind of stuff. My goal here, my intention here is to provide some thought, to provoke some conversation on how this feels. You know, I had an interesting comment yesterday on one of my posts, and I'll touch on that in just a minute, but how this really looks and feels from a client's perspective. I know how it looks and feels from our perspective. Sometimes we feel we're being abused. Sometimes we feel we're being beat up. Sometimes we feel we're going above and beyond when we really don't need to or shouldn't have to. But going above and beyond is what in many cases truly separates sometimes the big money earners and the truly successful in our business from some of the other folks that are just playing the game. So I think you need to balance. If you're that appointment guy, if you have a walk-in culture, you need to build that buffer after the last appointment to serve down, take care of, and wipe out the final walk-ins of the day. You know, interestingly, I posted yesterday on Insta, and obviously because this video will live on for a long time, yesterday doesn't mean anything anymore after like another day of this video being up and posted, but I posted something online, and I don't have to be specific, which is why the story will have value forever. It's an evergreen story. I posted something online and I got some comments and interaction from a bunch of barbers who liked the idea, supported it, and believed it. And I had a couple of comments from a couple of people, one in specific, who didn't really agree with the perspective that I posted. And my comment to this person was, you know, I said something and I said, this is how it is. And he said he doesn't understand that. And I said, clients don't feel that way. And my comment to him was, once you are a barber, once you work in a shop, once you're on the back of the chair, in many cases, you, we, me, us, are no longer able really to think like a client. We can't really see the situation like a client. We've lost our perspective. We're too close to the business and industry, and we're separated from it in many ways. You know, I use as an example, I personally buy all my haircuts. I generally do not get my haircuts for free from friends and other associates in the business. I generally patronize barbershops and hair salons. I generally pay money for haircuts. And I do that very deliberately to keep me connected to the client side of the experience. And that's so much of what this video is all about, is recognizing how does this issue that is a challenge for hair cutters, how does this issue look from the other side? How does this issue feel from the client's perspective? And if we're honest with ourselves, we as haircut professionals aren't really capable of being objective about that look and that feeling, because we're in the soup. And when you're in the soup, the kitchen looks very, very different. So honor your post. The bottom line on this, we'll wrap today here. Won't be a terribly long video, but the bottom line on this is honor the sign. If the sign says 6 o'clock, it is unlocked and the door is open until 6 o'clock, and clients can be accepted for service up to 6 o'clock. If they are physically able to get their body in the doorway before 6, we got to serve them. We got to stay. We got to serve them. Every once in a while, is dad and 2 kids going to show up at 5:58? Yes. Has it happened to me in this business? Yes. Have I stayed to cut them? Yes. Should you stay to cut them? Yes, you should. At 6:01, when the door is locked and they rattle the handle, there's no problem with you going and pointing to the sign. There's no problem with you going, nah, I got to cut it off. We're done. There's no problem with you going, hey, see me tomorrow. Catch me later. That's okay. That's respect. That's drawing a line and being respectful of yourself and of them. But locking the door at 20 minutes to 6, having them rattle the handle and seeing that look on their face like, oh man, you're killing me. Not only are you killing the client, you're killing your business. Thanks for tuning in today. I hope you enjoy this video. Like the video, subscribe the video, share the video, comment on the video. Reach out to me online at clipperguy.com for more great tips and information on how to build and grow your business. Pick up a copy of $100,000 Hair Cutter, my Clipper Guy book. I want to help you build and grow your business. Let's talk about it. How can I help you? Have a great day.